So today's session is more of a demo class, okay? And the topics that you are going to see on the board today are usually the topics that I go through during
Yes,
the
ma'am.
first class, okay? So
Okay, ma'am.
the first thing that we will be looking today would be understanding what exactly German is. If it's like English, then we will be looking at the personal pronouns. That is something that we have learned from our school days for a really, really long time. So we will be
Yes.
reviewing those. Then we will be looking at the verb conjugation. How exactly do we conjugate a verb? What does
Okay, ma'am.
conjugation mean in the first place? And then what would be the two golden rules of German language?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so first things first, what exactly is German? Now, read the sentence here. English is a Germanic language. What do you
In,
understand by that statement?
Ma'am, English, the German language is somewhat similar with English.
Yeah, close enough. So basically, you could say that Germanic languages is a family of languages, and in that group, we have English, but English is not the only language. The three most spoken Germanic languages are English, Dutch, and German. And apart from these three languages, there is also Swedish and some more
Okay, ma'am.
West Germanic languages that are the languages that share a lot of similarities when it comes to the sentence structure. Of course, these
Yes,
won't be the same languages. Otherwise, we would not have English, Dutch, and German. We would just have a language. Every single language will have its own beauty, its touch to it. But when we categorize them in groups, this is the first small group that we are looking at. Now comes the second group, the major group of languages, that is the Indo-European languages, where we have Central and North Indian languages that we speak, such as Marathi, Hindi, Gujarati, Bengali as well. And as a part of Indo-European languages, German is also in that
hello.
same group of languages. Because of this, German can be easily learnt with any of those Central and North Indian languages, and English. That is, we can use English as well as the Central and North Indian languages as a reference language. So, what's
Okay,
a
ma'am.
reference language? You try to relate something in that other language to learn German. But
Okay.
reference language is not to be confused with the language that you use for translation, because translation is not a good approach to learn the language.
Hmm.
So that's what German is. Now, looking at the personal pronouns, now we have seen this table for a really long time in our schools. So we will be reviewing this table on the left again. Those are the personal pronoun that we use to indicate a subject in a sentence. So we have the
Yes,
first
ma'am.
person singular, second person singular. Now I
Hmm.
have written specifically formal, informal here because in
Yes.
English we need not use those separate pronouns as we do that, for
Yes.
example, in Marathi or Hindi. Like in Marathi, you
Yes.
have apan, tumhi. In Hindi, you have
Hmm. Hmm.
the apan, sorry. But we don't have that segregation in English. We use the pronoun you for everyone,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And then we have the
Yes, ma'am.
third person, that is again singular and plural. Now, in the third person, we have three separate genders, that is the
Yes,
masculine,
ma'am.
feminine, and neutral.
Neutral.
Now, what happens in English, for example, is that any living being that is not a human also takes the gender form it. As in, to give you an
Hmm.
example, if I say that I have a cat, it will be
Hmm.
inappropriate to talk about my cat and address my cat as he or she. I'm expected to
Hmm.
use it. At the same time, if I'm talking about my friend, I have to use he or she. I can't use it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That is not the case in, for example, Marathi and Hindi. If I'm talking about my
Yes.
school in Marathi or in Hindi,
Yes.
माझी शाळा,
Hmm.
मेरी पाठशाला, I have to make sure that I'm addressing that Maji is telling us or Mary is telling us that the noun is feminine.
Feminine.
So this is something that does not happen in English, but it does happen in German. So we will be
German.
looking at these nominative personal pronoun, which is basically the same thing. Nominative is just again another word for
Hmm.
subject. Okay,
Sub-
so you will notice that the table is identical. Again, in German, we
Yes.
have the first person singular, first person plural, second person
Yes.
singular, second person plural. But here, the
Hmm.
pronoun is changing. Whereas in
Yes, ma'am.
English, the pronoun remained identical. Here it is changing. Then moving on to the
Hmm.
third person singular, we again have masculine, feminine, and neutral.
Hmm.
And again for the formal you, the pronoun is
Hmm.
changing, right? So while there are certain similarities between English and German, this is how we use English as a reference language. We made a reference of the personal pronouns, but we will be taking away only the German personal pronouns.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So
Okay, ma'am.
up until this point, are there any questions about the pronouns?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so these pronouns here, the German pronouns, they mean the same as they do in the table on the left. So ich will be I, wir is we, you and you. So this you would be in Hindi or Marathi, for example, tu or tum.
Hmm.
Here would ideally be tumhi or tumse
Hmm.
in Hindi.
Okay,
Now,
ma'am.
this is the segregation that we do not have in English, but we do have it
Yes,
in Marathi and Hindi. And then with er, sie, es, he, she, it, this
ma'am. Okay.
z here is nothing but they. And this z here, the formal, would be
Hmm.
apar in
Okay, ma'am.
Marathi, for example, and ap in Hindi. But
Yes,
it
ma'am.
remains as it is whether you're addressing one person or a group of people.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Now here there is also a tiny thing that we can't ignore, and that is the pronoun z, which is the same as this pronoun here,
Hmm.
isn't it? The spelling is same now. At least for the formal pronoun, we can see that the S is capital. So this is
Hmm.
indicating that we have to use the S letter capital no matter where we write it in the sentence, just like we do with the pronoun I in English. But here
Yes,
there
ma'am.
isn't any such indication. Here the word is same, the pronunciation is same, but then how do
Hmm.
we decide? Like if you read a sentence, how do you know if it's she or if it's they? And this is
Yes,
where
ma'am.
the verb conjugation comes into play. Okay.
Hmm.
So verb conjugation is basically the process of using a verb infinitive in a sentence. So this is again something that we have learned passively, but because we will be learning German as a foreign language from scratch, we will be looking at these elements right as they are. Okay, so on the left we have a table where we have the German pronouns. Okay, so I'll
Yes.
write what they are in English as well, just so it's clear. So ich stands for I, du is you in
I.
formal, er
Hmm.
is he, she, it,
Hmm.
wir is we, ihr is you all, and sie,
Yes, ma'am.
here is they. Here I've skipped the formal you for a reason. We'll come back to that later. Now, in front of it, we have the German verb lernen, which we have conjugated in this table. Just how we
Yes.
conjugated the verb to learn in this table here. So for example,
Hmm.
an infinite form of a verb looks like this, to learn. But when you put it in sentence, you don't say I to learn, right? You
Yes.
say I
Hmm.
learn, that is, you eliminate the to. But when it comes to
Oh.
she, you need to add the extra s for it to make sense, right? So this process of eliminating the t as well as adding the appropriate ending to a verb is what we call verb conjugation. Okay, now lernen, this is how a verb infinitive looks in German, but this can be again better explained with Marathi or Hindi. For example, in Marathi, the verb infinitive is shikane.
Hmm.
Okay, but do you use this word as it is when you use it in the sentence? No, right?
No.
You say either mi shikat ahe, mi shikanar, and so on. So in
Hmm.
what you do, you eliminate the ni. Similarly, in Hindi, sikhna,
Hmm.
again, you don't use the word sikhna as it is in the sentence. What you do, you eliminate this na and you keep
Hmm.
this part as it is. And this is what we
Yeah.
call the stem of a verb. And if you
Hmm.
notice here, this is the verb lernen, and if you just take this learn part as the stem, you will notice
Hmm.
that we are eliminating the en, and for different pronouns, we are adding different ending, that is the ending, as in we are adding something else to the word. Similarly, again in Marathi and Hindi, shiknar, shikat ahe, sikhunga, and so on.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
So for do, so for ish we add the e, do we add st, rsg third person singular we add t, wear
Hmm.
we remove the en but we add it back, er again we
Hmm.
remove the en add t, and z we remove the en but add it again. Compared to that, in
Okay.
English, there is only one change happening here. Everything else
Hmm.
remains as the original verb. So,
Hmm.
therefore, when you look at German sentences, this is how you identify whether this Z is she or they.
Hmm.
Okay, now this S is capital here because it's the beginning of the sentence, but otherwise, this is how a verb tells us what's the subject. Okay, so
Hmm.
any doubts here?
No, ma'am, can you explain this ST and E and T concept again one time?
Yeah, sure. So basically, if you think of the Marathi or Hindi verbs, how we remove
Ma'am,
the en, the same process happens here. It's just that this word lair will remain as it is, but
okay.
for certain pronouns to fit in the sentence, to make perfect sense, we need to add certain endings. So again, with the example of Hindi or Marathi, if I say mi shikto, it will be
Hmm.
considered incorrect because I am not a boy. I'm a girl
Yes, ma'am.
and therefore I have to say mi shikte, right?
Okay, ma'am.
So why does it need to be shikto and shikte? Because that's how the rule is. And the same
Yes, ma'am.
logic applies with these ending, that is E, ST, and T. But here we notice that for he, she, it, the T
Hmm.
remains as it is, meaning the German verbs are not gender sensitive.
Okay,
So,
ma'am. Okay,
as
ma'am.
compared to that Marathi and in Hindi, once again, if a boy is saying
Gender.
a sentence, the verb will change, but it does not change
Okay.
in German.
Okay,
Okay?
ma'am.
Is it clear now?
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's clear.
Okay, perfect. So here we have some exercises, and I have uploaded the table on the right, which you can take help from. But we will be looking at this exercise just to practice
Oh,
what we just learned. Okay, so
yes, ma'am.
first things first, here the importance is right now, not on you understanding or you following what's happening in the sentence, but that you understand the process of verb conjugation. Okay,
Hmm.
now there will be certain words that will look familiar, and that's the reason why I have chosen this particular exercise. But the takeaway main here is that the verb is in the infinitive form and it's given in bold letters, and it is used in a sentence, as in its stem is used in a sentence. You just have to
Hmm.
figure out the ending depending upon who the subject of the sentence is.
Hmm.
Okay, so could you try and solve the first four sentences?
Maria com
Compt.
s.
Now this is Maria, right? It's not I,
Yes.
it's not you, it's someone else.
Yes.
And that makes her
Okay.
the third person.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, try the second one.
Carlos com. Com.
Compt. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. T.
That is correct. And then ish.
Compt. Ish. Yes, ma'am. Ish. Ish com. Ma'am, 1 minute. Ish. E. Comi. Com. Comai.
Comma.
Comai.
Comma. Okay, that's
Com.
fair enough. Good. That is correct. Even if your pronunciation is incorrect, that's completely fine. You have not learned the language. You're just getting acquainted with the process of verb conjugation. So any
Okay.
mispronunciation is completely fine. Okay, we'll figure out this this bracket later once we learn the meaning of the word. Okay, let's go to the
Okay,
day.
ma'am.
Karl und Eva.
Card. Ma'am.
Now this
En.
en.
No, en not. En. Yes, ma'am. En.
Yeah, because this und is and even if you don't know what the und is, you can see that this is name of one guy and this is name of one girl. So clearly it's not one person. At the same time, it's not you or I either. Therefore, they will be
Yes.
together, the third person plural, Z.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay,
Z.
all right, then
Okay.
next.
Martin.
Hmm.
Uh, ma'am. Martin. Uh, ma'am. T.
Very good. Martin kauft Obst. Okay, then
Maria. Ma'am. T again.
that is correct.
Uh, ma'am. Here. En.
Very good.
And ma'am. In last one, it is E. Only E.
Perfect.
Okay, ma'am.
Then
Yes, ma'am.
continue.
Uh, ma'am. I in first one, it is E.
That is correct.
Ma'am, in second, it is T.
Perfect.
Ma'am, in third, it is yeah, ma'am, En.
En.
Correct. And then the
Okay, ma'am.
last four sentences.
Ma'am, I can't see it. Okay,
You
ma'am.
don't have to
The
solve this one. Go to M directly.
okay, ma'am. ST will be there in M.
Correct. That is correct.
Uh, ma'am, then T.
That is correct.
Ma'am, then E.
Mhm.
And ma'am, in the last one, the T again.
Perfect. All right. So this
Okay.
was basically you conjugating the verb. Okay. So now
Yes,
let's
ma'am.
go to the meaning of those infinitives first. So first we have
Okay,
gehen, that is to go.
ma'am.
Kommen
Okay, ma'am.
is to come. Kaufen,
Hmm.
to buy. Wohnen,
Okay.
to live. And any guess for trinken?
Sorry, ma'am.
Any guess what would trinken mean?
Drink.
Yeah, it is to
Oh,
drink.
okay.
All right. Now, in this particular exercise, we also have some sentences that have a preposition. So that is aus here for these four sentences, and then we have
Hmm.
in for these three sentences. So this
Okay, ma'am.
preposition aus basically stands for from. So
Hmm.
Maria kommt aus Rome. Maria is from Rome.
Okay.
Carlos comes from Madrid. So for me, I would say ich komme aus Mumbai, for example,
Okay.
and so on. Then
Okay.
wohnen is to live. So ich wohne in Passau. I live in Passau.
Hmm.
Carlos wohnt auch in Passau. So this auch is also. And wir wohnen
Okay.
in Passau. We live in Passau. But now here,
Okay.
it gets a bit different. It's a bit unusual from our regular English sentences. Now, Obst is
Hmm.
fruits. Cola is the drink Coca-Cola. Ice
Yes,
is
ma'am.
ice cream.
Hmm.
Mineralwasser, Wasser is water, so
Mineral
mineral
water.
water.
Okay.
Orangensaft, Saft is juice, so Orangensaft is orange juice.
Orange juice. Yes.
Kaffee is coffee.
Okay. Hmm.
Beer is beer with the spelling
Beer.
change. And mineral Wasser again, mineral water. Now, the most
Mineral
important
water.
thing here to notice would be the two golden rules that I had mentioned, that the verb
Hmm.
is always at the second position and all the nouns in German language will always be with the capital letter. It doesn't matter if it's a common noun or a proper noun, it's always going to
Hmm.
be capital.
Capital letter.
Yeah. So that's about it. Do you have any doubts or any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So I guess that would summarize the today's, as in it would summarize today's demo class. So here's something about me, who I am. So I'm originally from Mumbai, but right now I'm at my native place near Konkan, and I've completed
Okay.
from my A1 till B2.2, as in I've written all those tests, and I've attended C1
Hmm.
at Goethe Institute in Mumbai. And I'm a graduate of history. I was at Elphinstone College. I've worked as a German language expert. I worked as a translator. And while I was
Okay.
working as a translator, it's usually a contract based position. So that's where I got
Hmm.
to know about this institute in Navi Mumbai. And I started working as a German trainer there. But then there was a point that I would work 9 to 5 and then I would look forward to teaching in the evening. And that's the reason I made a switch. I have now been training and tutoring full time for the last 4 years. And this is usually how I teach. Now, of course, for today's session, I use the PPT, but otherwise, I
Hmm.
use Word or PDF or something like that. Like, this is how I
Yes,
usually
ma'am.
teach. Everything is on the board,
Hmm.
my notes are on the board as well. And that's it. Okay, so if you
Okay,
have any
ma'am. Thank you,
questions,
ma'am.
let me know.
No, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, welcome.